7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L-Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the league ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 62 of our vodcast 32 Kings Road, and on today's show, we are going to recap NFL Championship weekend in the playoffs. We're also going to talk about some off-season wishes for those teams that are out, some hot topics. But first of all, as a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That is Twitter, that is Facebook, that is Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Pay special attention to and please visit our online blogspot, Diplomatic Immunity. That is the place where fans can go ahead and speak your piece. We will put it on our website as well as post it on our social media. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, and also share our podcast everywhere that you can. We've got a good show. There's a lot to catch up on this weekend. Kev, how you doing, brother? What you sipping on, sir?
Doing all right. I'm freezing. It's like 10 degrees out here on the East Coast. But tonight I'm sipping on this half bottle of sangria that was left at my house by someone who may not be named. But it's man law. You leave liquor in somebody's house, it belongs to them now. So that's my poison for tonight. But more importantly, I'm sipping on the fact that the Moose, Mr. Mike Mussina, famous Oriole who left us, unfortunately, to go play for the Yankees, but nonetheless, he was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame today. Proud moment for us Baltimore fans who remember his time here, short-lived.
Man, is Barry, he's not going to get in, huh? They not going to let Barry get in?
Nope. Nah.
Wow. I'm sipping on the fact that, you know what, guys, I don't care what you say about me. I'm done with the Chargers. I'm done.
Already.
Hey, with a capital A. Already. I'm done with them. Okay? That's what I'm sipping on. I am a Los Angeles Lakers fan. I'm a Los Angeles Dodgers fan. And I'm a fan of the NFL. I'm done. Junior Blue.
Shit lasted 17 and a half weeks. Well, I'm sipping on some water because it was a very long weekend and it's going to be a very long week. But also, I'm sipping on how much I don't want the Patriots to win. Kind of like when you know you want a cheese on your cheeseburger. And when you really want it, you just really want it. And somehow that made sense to Adrian Broner.
I hate Les.
Yo, 4 weeks ago, you called him the greatest human there was on this side of the pond.
This is a week-to-week league, guys.
It is a week. I thank you, Kevin. That's why the Chargers is trash. Dad.
Oh my God! You
shout out to Redo. He's doing people's taxes. So he's not with us today. Dad, you're here. What are you sipping on, sir? By the way,
if you need code word for something else.
Yeah, by the way, if you need your taxes done, hit up Red O. You can just hit us up on social media @TheLeagueAM. We'll forward your information. But we've got a couple of realtors on the team, real estate agents on the team. We also got a tax man. I'm telling you, League Ambassadors, we got you covered with whatever you need. Dad, what you sipping on?
I'm not sipping on any goddamn thing because, again, it's football season and we had a fight this weekend. And,
we did.
You know, it was a long weekend and we had Martin Luther King Day off.
But speaking about the fight, this was the first big pay-per-view event of the year. There's a lot of boxing matches coming up.
I regret it. I want my money back.
Yeah, that's gone. So the main event was Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner, but I had a couple of questions. I want to talk about the event in general. So we discussed a few episodes ago as one of our other sipping on topics how HBO had finished their run with their boxing championship boxing and their boxing after dark. They're done. So now the only big cable network to carry that paid for cable is Showtime. So this was Showtime's first big event. It was since HBO quit, and it was a pay-per-view event. And that shit was a dud. It was boring. But let's get that out the way.
Yeah.
The first two fights on the card,
I don't even remember.
were absolute. Yeah, we were watching the
Watching
Laker
Laker game.
We watching
watching Laker game on the small TV in the man cave. And then I guess the most before we get into the big fight, I guess the most exciting thing of the night was Badu Jack's cut.
Was that slit?
Seeing his skull.
Yeah.
And so let's just start with that.
His chakra was on point that night.
Man. So
Okay.
how would you rate his cut in the history of boxing? Because there's been some gruesome cuts. Would you put that up there as the worst you've seen in boxing, or what are some other ones that kind of compare to that?
One of the Klitschko's, like they had one.
Vitaly.
Yeah, Vitaly had one where the eyeball was coming out the top. This one was nasty though. It was nasty because the gush factor. The gush factor was high. And there's only one scenario where I'm okay with gush factors. That wasn't it.
Wow.
I mean, we are 7 minutes in. What say you? Let's quickly move on from that.
Everybody was bloody.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
Right?
was bloody from
Right?
that. So that was the worst one I seen.
I think Paulie even said he got some blood on him.
I'm sure they did. Anybody in the front row.
I mean, the refs, his whole, like his elbows down, and then the mat just had blood all over.
Yeah.
I mean, for my years as a legal drinking adult, I would say that's probably the worst I've seen. And I was honestly surprised that his corner didn't throw the towel in. Like, he was going to lose that fight regardless. But, I feel like they should at least stop the fight to preserve his face or his pride.
What
or
about the
something, 'cause
ringside doctor? Fuck the corner. The ringside doctor.
It wasn't affecting his vision until it was, which I don't know how it fucking lasted. But to me, I think it's up there. Hasim Rahman's though, when he had a whole baby growing out his forehead.
But was that a cut though, or was that just a lump?
No,
Because I thought about that
was
too.
like blood on your brain though. I mean, that was a famous Holyfield headbutt.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something, Kev. You said Badu Jack was going to lose anyway. Is this it for him at 35? He came on late with the Floyd as his promoter. And he's boxed well over the last few years. Like he came on, like I really liked him when he moved up to 175. But this thing is going to take 30 plus stitches.
Have you seen the pictures with the stitches? They showed it. Yeah, they showed it.
He's going to need a skin graft or something.
He's got they
He
stitched
got
it
that
up.
crease.
They were able to stitch it up. He's definitely going to have a permanent crease. Like grandpa's jeans. But
oh yeah, that's gross.
Get out, Kenya.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it is it for him. I think that, he had a sort of a late career sort of resurgence, but his style of fighting is such to where he does lead with his head, and he got outboxed. He starts slow. He got outboxed by a younger guy that was stronger. I don't see it getting any better for him, you know, and he had a nice little, late career run.
All right. So let's talk about the main event, if you want to call it that. Manny Pacquiao landed like 4 times more punches than Adrian Broner.
He actually didn't, though. It was more like...
It was like 2.5.
Yeah.
Well, Adrian Broner only landed like 50
He only landed
punches.
50. No, not like 50.
Yeah.
He landed with three body shots, right? The whole fight?
3 the whole fight. I think he threw 3.
Yeah.
So we knew Manny was over the hill, and we've all had our discussions about AB. Omar famously said that he wants him to lose so he can go away. And we were talking about it the day after, with all the advantages that he has. He has a chin, which is important.
Yeah.
He has the hand speed. He has the athleticism. And he just doesn't let him go. He doesn't let his hands go. So is this the absolute last time we've seen Adrian Broner?
On pay-per-view?
I mean, of anything that we care about. He's not going to be on pay-per-view. We know that. That's a wash.
I mean, I think he's going to be a gatekeeper fighter, which is, I think we said that maybe like 2 or 3 Adrian Broner fights ago, that he's just going to be...
Well, he's 3-1 in his last 7 fights.
I'd be 7-0.
Yeah.
You.
He's right. That's what he told Jim Gray. I think he's gatekeeper status.
Mm.
And you know what? I didn't actually have this thought until really thinking through it today. I think for him, it is strictly now about a money thing. I think he knows that he's a draw to an extent, and it's because of his personality. It's because of his personality, and people, he drums up interest, and people want to see him lose and all of that. But I think for him, it's all about cashing a check, because when you really think about throwing 50 punches against a guy like Manny Pacquiao who has flaws that can be exploited, that tells me that you were in there to survive and you were in there to collect a check, which is exactly what he did.
And he really thought he won. Kev, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I was gonna say, what got me about the fight was two of the judges had it 116, 112. So basically that means that the last 2 rounds went to Pacquiao.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, I don't understand how somebody can average landing 5.5 punches a round for the first 10 rounds, and they say, hey, it's an even fight at this point.
Yeah, I think it's just boxing judging in general is always, been a fucking problem for me. But Kev, I was going to ask you, being someone who's not like a boxing head, knowing who Adrian Broner is, like, what do you think for him is, because he's entertaining as fuck.
Listen, I made a late push for us to have a fight party at Club 29, but it was not because I wanted to watch boxing. I was here for the Tom Coonery that is Adrian Broner. Like I was really looking forward to just the circus, and that's exactly what it was. I know I would never ask someone else to pay, because I'm not paying for it. I would never ask someone else to pay for an Adrian Broner fight at their house. And I know we talking about money. I know Floyd was upset that he wasted his blue velvet Gucci custom jacket with the cream turtle and the matching shoes on that bullshit. He could have saved that outfit for something a lot more important.
Well, you bring up Floyd. What's next for Manny Pacquiao? Because there were rumblings that they were going to announce, and I think it was a farce to get more people to pay attention now, that Floyd and Manny 2 was going to be announced.
Well, I think Manny is he's in bed at a minimum. He's in bed with Al Heyman. I think Manny is a good fighter to put up against any of the sort of front line, with the exception of Errol Spence, right? Yeah. Like that's not gonna happen. But any of the other frontliners like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman said that he wants that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually Manny's next fight. Right, because Keith Thurman
fights this weekend.
Keith fights this weekend. He fights a nobody. This is supposed to be the whatever reintroduction, and then you put Keith Thurman in with Manny Pacquiao towards the end of the year to sort of raise Keith Thurman's profile, and then you get him ready to then fight Errol Spence, which I think is what happens.
At the end of the year?
I think he fights Errol Spence at the end of the year, and then once Errol Spence dispenses of Keith Thurman, then we look to next year where then he fights TC. But now Manny becomes this sort of a profile raiser, gatekeeper, if you will, for some of the frontline fighters for the Al Heyman camp. That's at least what I think happens. But Manny, now that he can come back in the United States and get a clean 10, 15, maybe even 20 million, because he's here for anybody. He got 10 for this one, plus whatever the upsides are on pay-per-view, which I can't imagine will be that much. That, to me, will be interesting.
People love Manny, though.
People love Manny.
People hate Adrian.
And people hate Adrian. So I'm interested to see what those numbers are going to look like when they come in.
I know. I love Manny, and it's at least because I know if he's going to get a bag, we know what he's going to do with it. I mean, he's going to take that shit back home and build like 3 more hospitals. Like had Broner, we don't know what he would have bought, but we know what he wouldn't have bought. And it wouldn't have been what Manny's doing. So I'm hoping as long as he can put on a good show and not embarrass himself, that he continues to collect.
All right, well, let's get into the meat of our show. And first of all, we're going to recap the teams that have taken L's the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. We will go back to the divisional round, where first of all we have the Indianapolis Colts that went into Kansas City, and they took a cold L, not a hot L, but a cold L. They had a great end to the season. They finished strong. The question I have for you guys is, has order been restored in the AFC South? Traditionally, if we go back to the Peyton Manning era, the Colts dominated the AFC South. That was their division. And then Andrew Luck got there, got into the playoffs, I think 2 out of his first 3 seasons. Then he had injuries. We didn't know if he was going to come back. And then when he came back, we didn't know if the arm was going to come back. We got to the end of this season. The arm came all the way back. That defense is underrated. The question I have for you guys is, has order been restored in the AFC South? Junior Blue, I'll come to you.
I don't think so.
Oh.
Honestly, I feel like Jacksonville could be back up depending on who's their quarterback.
You think that's all they need is a quarterback?
I think that puts them back to where they're in the conversation.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be a thing where they just dominate it. I feel like Houston is still there, depending on what they do in the offseason. Tennessee, if they ever decide who they are.
You saw who they made as their offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. So they'll probably be the bottom. So I still feel like the top is up for grabs. I can't tell you who's going to win. So I don't think it's been restored like that.
I mean, I think they're built the right way. They went about it correctly in this draft, building up the offensive line, one of the best lines in the league, to protect their quarterback that they made, until the last, 2, the highest played quarterback in history. I think that there's a good marriage between their head coach and quarterback, which is important. But I don't know if order has been restored. I kind of agree with Les. I'm not too sure about the Jags. Not too sure about the Titans, but Houston's still young and they have their flaws, but they'll still be competitive. So I think they won't be bottom feeders, but I think they'll be contending for a playoff spot every year.
Could you imagine if they had the same type of draft that the Colts had last year?
Oh, you mean so Deshaun Watson doesn't get sacked
Exactly.
62 times? What are they going to be looking for?
They've also got a Page Davion though, and they
Maybe.
Okay. So then, and you also need to do something about Lamar Miller. What are you going to do about Lamar Miller in the backfield? And they also need a secondary. They need a secondary receiving threat to go along with DeAndre Hopkins, whether that's at the tight end position or whether that's at the receiver position. Kev?
Well, yeah, I mean, you consider Will Fuller went down, and then
he goes
my
down
man
every
that they
year.
got from the every year. But my man they got from the Demaryius Thomas also went down after they brought him back. And I think I agree with what Les said. For starters, I think that as predicted in our season previews, that at least 3 teams in this division could finish with winning records.
Who predicted that?
I think we'll get to that next week, won't we?
Maybe.
But no, I think that the division's up for grabs. It may be, if everyone stays the course heading into this offseason, that this could be another division that's up for grabs where any of the 4 teams can win it.
All right, next team we want to talk about are the Dallas Cowboys. They came here to Los Angeles. They got thumped by the Los Angeles Rams, 22-30. And for me, when I think about the Dallas Cowboys, they have about $54 million. Let's set the table here. $54 million at a minimum to start with going into the offseason. Their only real big free agent is DeMarcus Lawrence, but there are a handful of key players that they could decide to extend and pay, which would be to their advantage, because if they pay these guys a year early, potentially they could get them on a discount. So the question I have for you guys is, who gets paid this offseason and how much? Like I said, we've got DeMarcus Lawrence, who they've got to deal with. He played on a franchise tag this year. But you've got potentially Dak, who's eligible for a new contract, Ezekiel Elliott, who's eligible for a new contract, Amari Cooper, who's eligible for a new contract, and Byron Jones out of Connecticut, who they moved to corner and had an outstanding season after being drafted as a safety. Dad, where would you go if you were the Cowboys?
Well, we know they have to sign Lawrence, right?
That's a must.
That's a must.
Okay.
Where do you go if you don't sign Dak?
Dak's still going to be there, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think I like your question, which is to say you're going to go sign the person that's going to be harder to sign a year from now. Is that where I feel like you're going?
Well, I mean, they definitely need to. If you're talking about Zeke,
I'm just saying. Amari could be hard to sign too because we know Amari's numbers are going to be stupid.
are they?
They are because you got to think if you try to sign him now, his franchise tag number is going to be something like 23 million, which the agent is going to be looking for right now if you're going to sign him early.
Come on, Amari.
Why is Amari's 23? It should be like 18.
No,
maybe.
18 million. I'm sorry. Yeah, 18. Then he's guaranteed for 16 this year. So if you're going to sign me now, I'm going to at least get my 16 this year, which you need to give me a little something on top of the 16, plus the 18 franchise tag number for the following year. That's already 34 guaranteed.
And his agent is the same one as Khalil Max. So will he even show up next year?
But that's kind of my question. We talked about Lawrence, though, which I agree you keep him, but he's a pass rusher in the league where you can't get rid of pass rusher. But no shade. But the price tag for Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack is what, 22 million? I'm not saying Lawrence will get that, but if he's asking for 18, 19, 20 million a year, and you got Dak, who currently is the lowest paid starting quarterback in the NFL because he was a 4th round pick, so he doesn't have the fifth year option like most guys do. I think you extend him, but you don't pay him more than $100 million a year because, as we've talked about on this platform several times, paying a quarterback that much money is just bad business, no matter if he is worth it or not. So I think we're about to find out how good of a GM, owner, president, supervisor Jerry Jones really is. Because
I think we know that.
I mean, you got Zeke coming up in a couple years too. Like you can't.
You
don't
got
leverage
54
your future.
million.
Who sets the markets for DNs, Clowney or Lawrence?
I think it's Lawrence.
I think it's
about
Khalil.
17,
I think Khalil Mack set the market.
Nah, because he doesn't set the market because they're not going to beat him. They're not going to give him. They're not going to give Clowney $24 million a year. They're not going to give Lawrence $24 million a year.
The answer to your question, they need to sign all of them. They got to figure that out.
And they can't sign them all this year.
Yeah, they can't. Well, they don't. Well, Jones, they can wait. Zeke,
And they don't have a 1st round pick, right?
So you can wait on. So okay. So you can wait on. No, they don't.
We got that.
So you can.
They absolutely don't.
Can wait on. I think you wait on Byron Jones because of the position that he plays. Yep. You wait on Dak because I think.
That's only got one more though, right?
They all have one. All these guys have one, except for DeMarcus. You got to pay DeMarcus. Yeah. If it's not 24, 22. So just off of the 54, that leaves 32 million. Okay, so you got 32 million. I mean,
like I said, they can't pay everybody this summer.
And the thing about paying Ezekiel is if you can get him to a nice, like give him a Todd Gurley extension. His deal runs. You could set it up where his deal would end at age 29.
Man, but if they don't do that now,
it goes
another year like he had this year, with 77 catches and leading the league in rushing.
Yeah.
Then he's asking for Le'Veon money.
Exactly. So I think you've got to sign Ezekiel. I think you've got to sign DeMarcus, and I think with Amari, you make him play under that deal.
Yep.
I think that's what you got to do. The Chargers.
Whose Chargers are they?
Huh? Well, that's the and that's the question. That is the question. Whose Chargers are they? Gang, gang. Because they're not my Chargers, number one. But number two, I think we've all, seriously speaking, all were in agreement. Both teams, I think the Rams were a little bit more overt about it than the Chargers. Both teams were in a competition to win LA. The Rams are going to the Super Bowl, which we will talk about a little bit later. The Chargers are going home, and they started this race not with a head start. They started behind the blocks, and the Rams had the head start. So my question to you, gentlemen, are the Chargers done in Los Angeles? Junior Blue.
Did they ever start?
Damn.
That's the problem with the Chargers. They came here without a fan base. At least the Rams came here with the idea that they were here before. There were still Rams fans here. Mm-hmm. Charger fans, they didn't even have that. They came from San Diego where they kind of had fans down there, but they never won anything. So they didn't have any true diehard fans because diehard fans wouldn't matter a 2-hour drive. So once they get here,
And that was part of their thinking actually when they were coming up. Like, oh, it's only 2 hours away. We're set up in Costa Mesa, which is Orange County, which is like an hour away.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then now you charger it up in the playoffs where we thought, hey, they have a chance to beat the Patriots. And it's what 28-0. They clearly after 3 drives. I said that game was over.
They clearly came into the game with no game plan.
No, they used a game plan from the week before.
Exactly.
You
defend
with
7 cornerbacks
Tom Brady
on the field.
The way you defended Lamar Jackson. That's a way to start. I mean, well, Ken, you answered this question and you're sipping on. You are LA born and bred and raised. Your R's are hard. Your shirt button up to the top, and you didn't giving up on this team. What that was, 17 weeks in. I mean, they did what the Chargers usually do.
They're headed to the Alliance of American Football.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that they have a quarterback who is aging, but one who might be, depending on how deep we want to get into this argument. Thank God Omar isn't here. Could be the second best quarterback to never win a Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't think they're completely done. I think they'll just be the Clippers. I just think that's
the
what
90s Clippers.
That's
Benoit Benjamin, Gary Grant, Ron Hollywood Harper, LaFonso Ellis.
I think
Lonzo Ellis,
Danny Manning,
Kiki Vandeweghe. Yeah,
I think
Phillip Rivers is Danny Manning. No, Joey Bosa.
Poole Richardson.
No, Poole Richardson. Joey Bosa is Danny Manning.
Don't say that. You wish it hurt upon his knees. But I think, first of all, they can't leave LA for 20 years, so they're definitely here. I think if they continue to win and have success, it'll grow. It'll be slow. The Rams definitely got out of the starting block faster again because of those advantages. But I mean, I think if they can continue to win, something will happen. They got 20 years to do it.
What was the split at the Baltimore Charger game when you guys went?
Oh, it was actually closer than than normally. It was probably about 60-40 Chargers.
60-40 Chargers.
Normally it's the other way.
Now, when you go to the new when they go to the new stadium in Inglewood, which is going up fast. Goodness grief. That's how they're gonna sell out their games.
Yeah.
By the opposing teams every single week.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think the 90 Clippers is the Clippers of the 90s is
they're gonna have
that's
Groupon
who they are.
tickets.
Yeah.
That is funny.
They might. I mean, I think if you, man. First of all, the tickets are gonna be high as shit at the stadium
to start.
Then they're gonna drop because they got we can't have a brand new stadium.
They got 16 games there every year, so they're gonna make up that money. Whoever's in charge of that project. But Kevin said something real. Like Philippe is at the end. I mean, the rest of the pieces around him are good, but he's getting old.
All right, let's move on quickly to the Philadelphia.
Fed up already.
To the Philadelphia Eagles. They made a good run of it at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Big Dick Nick.
I mean, it was a cold way for the season to end. It was like a cliffhanger almost. It was like, really? It ends on an Alshon Jeffrey pick. And we know that they're set up well for the future. However, this week, an interesting story popped up, and the leaders of the team, they had to jump on that junk fast, boy. They blew that fire out. The Philly Voice was reporting that there were unnamed players, which, of course, they're always unnamed suckers, that said that Carson Wentz is selfish. He's
Nick
not
Foles,
a
by the way.
good. He's not a good leader. And then Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson came out.
Zach
Ertz came out in Carson Wentz's defense to say that this is not true. The question I have for you guys, and I'll start with you, Kev, is this newsworthy or is there nothing to see here? Because listen, when the season ended, Philadelphia came out maybe a day or two later and said, listen, Carson Wentz is our quarterback of the future. Nick Foles, we thank you. We're going to give you $1 million out the door because you're going to do us a solid. We're going to get a first-round pick for you. Thank you. So it was no drama here per se, but...
Well, I'm going to start by saying that Alshon Jeffrey drop made life a hell of a lot easier for decision makers in Philly, because another deep playoff run led by Nick Foles would have made it an impossible decision. But now that obviously they lost, they decided they're going to stick with Carson Wentz, which I think is the right thing to do.
Right.
Because let's not forget, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Carson Wentz was running away with the MVP award until his knee went one way and the other part of it went the other way.
Right.
But I do think his struggles, and I think what contributes to what came out in the story outside of his personality, is that the last 2 of his seasons ended with him on injury. And I think that with the injury he had, it's going to take 2 full seasons for him to really be comfortable. And I think I honestly think he came back a little too early. He was overcompensating to try to make plays that he's made in the past. The fact that this team won without him kind of had that in his psyche. He had to get back and prove himself. And injuries really hurt this team. But I think if he comes back healthy and he plays anywhere close to the level he played at the year he got hurt, I think this goes out the window.
There's nothing to see here. I mean, the big dogs jumped up right away and squashed that. It sounded like somebody was trying to make something out of nothing.
But okay, so I listen. I want to agree with you, and that makes sense. Except this story came out after Philadelphia had already made their decision, so there's nothing to see here from the organization's perspective. So why still report that story?
It's 2019. People are butthurt. It could have been some reporter that got shit on, had an axe to grind, wanting a story to be bigger than what it is. I mean,
it could literally be a player that doesn't like Wentz, that's in Nick Foles' corner. Like Nick Foles carried us to the Super Bowl, and now we're letting him go.
But Ken, I feel you. It could be nothing to see here, but that doesn't mean it's not true, because there was so many things that were in that article that maybe I don't know if we should post it or not, but they talked about things that I could definitely see happening in terms of a guy going out to play, right? And then like they said that he was changing the offense. He would audible. He would decide to put the game in his hands instead of just naturally going through his progressions, things that we saw Nick Foles do the minute he stepped on the field.
Yes.
So I definitely think the things that they were reporting were true, because you could see it on the field. And the minute he comes out, another guy comes back in, they look like the team that went on that run last year.
My biggest thing is that it looked like, and at first I was putting it on Doug Peterson. It looked like Peterson was calling a different game for Nick Foles than he was for Carson Wentz. But then when you see an article like that, makes you say, So we'll see.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Saints. Let's jump to this weekend's games. And this ought to be a fun conversation. The New Orleans Saints lose in overtime to the Los Angeles Rams. I believe the score was 26-23. And I don't want to jump ahead because we're going to have a separate conversation about the officials. Mm-hmm. The question I'll ask for you guys, and actually I'll go in reverse. First question is this. Maybe a day after the game, Drew Brees was like, yeah, I'm not going out like this. He said he's coming back. And the throw that sticks out in my mind in that Saints game is the throw before everything went south for the Saints. And that was the throw to Ted Ginn, because if he throws that on a line and with any sort of arm strength, Teddy Ginn scores.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that, so he had to shoot it out of the cannon. I believe Drew Brees' arm is done. Cooked. He says he's going to come back. Number one, do you guys agree that his arm is done? And number two, is this decision going to come back and bite the Saints in the ass that he's going to return? I'll start with you, Junior Blue.
He's definitely returning, and they want him to return. His arm is done because, damn it, he's thrown more than anybody else ever. So, I mean, damn it, it's done.
On a reconstructed shoulder,
exactly. But, I mean, they're going to be good next year. What people don't realize is they're a running team. And not on Sunday, but during the season they were. And it's going to be different throws. And when he has to launch it out of a cannon, that's what he's going to do. Nothing's going to be it ain't no 40-yard lasers down the field. That's not happening. But he'll come back and they'll win 10, 11, 12 games next year.
Dad.
Yeah, his arm is cooked. I mean, he's on Andrew Luck from like week 4.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it stops much. They're gonna short passing game, run the ball, and he's definitely, like you say, he's coming back. I mean, he's one of the best there ever was at orchestrating a drive in a game, and he's the most accurate quarterback in history. So they don't have any real deep threats as it is for him to get the ball to. So
What, Teddy Ginn ain't a deep threat?
Ted Ginn is your deep threat.
say that again. Exactly.
He's still playing wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, let me paint the picture for you, and then you answer this question. So let's go back to when they made the playoffs at 11-5, and they had to go to the Seattle Seahawks, who were 7-9 on the road in the playoffs, and we know what happened again. That was the Marshawn Lynch thump 'em game.
Beast mode. Yep.
We've got Bountygate, which wrecked their season. We also have what happened last year,
Minnesota
Miracle. Okay. And then we come to this year where we will talk about the officials in a minute, but suffice it to say, they missed 2 calls on 1 play, which could have changed their outcome. The question I have for you is, are the Saints going to be able to recover from this?
I think so, because if you look at recent history, most Super Bowl champions outside of the Patriots likely have to overcome some type of disaster the previous year before they ultimately, raise the trophy. For the Saints, this is 2 years, maybe 6 years in the making, but they're going through the motions. They're going through the motions. For me, I definitely think they can. I think Breeze should come back and will come back. His arm needs some type of steak sauce because it's well done. But I know I would, if I was the organization, I would likely bring in either draft a quarterback or bring in a young quarterback and give him a clipboard and sit him at the end of the bench and let him learn.
So Teddy B ain't the answer?
What'd you say?
Teddy B's doing that right now. I mean, he looked like shit in week 17.
Yeah, he did, but I don't know. I don't know if they're confident that he's going to be their guy for the future, not just next year, 2 years from now, but down the line.
He's a free agent,
needs,
right? Teddy B is a free agent, I think, this offseason. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to see him stay there and eventually take those reins over, but I don't think he will. For that offense, I think they need another weapon in the passing game because Michael Thomas was everything. And we saw, when you can't go to him in certain moments, what happens to Drew Brees. He just looks like a different guy. But no, I think they can bounce back, especially given the division they're in. I don't necessarily see too much coming from those other teams right away next year. So let's run it back. And if they get their heart broken again, then we've seen this movie before.
The other loser in last weekend's games were the Kansas City Chiefs at home. They took an L to the New England Patriots, a very entertaining game. We know, looking at Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he should be the NFL MVP in my opinion. 50 touchdowns. He played well for the most part in the game on Sunday. They are definitely on an upward trajectory. Today they announced that they fired Bob Sutton, who I'm not mad at that call, and apparently are looking at Rex Ryan to come in as the DC. But the question I have for you guys is, they got about $46 million in cap space. Okay, D Ford, who unfortunately was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Damn it. In Sunday's game, is an unrestricted free agent. You've got Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones that are eligible for new deals because they're in the last year of their deals. They've got an entire backfield that is basically open free agency. Damian Williams did sign a little baby contract. And then they've got a secondary who, if there was any takeaway from the game on Sunday, needs to be upgraded in a real way. My question to you guys is, what is the most important thing that they need to do in this offseason with the money that they do have? Dad?
Well, they have got to make sure that they keep Tariq. I think that's the biggest thing.
Really? Over D Ford?
You can franchise D Ford.
Okay. So franchise D
Ford.
Pay Tyreek.
Pay Tyreek because he just changes everything about that offense. I mean, the run game worked when they had Hunt because of him. him doing the fly sweeps and coming in motion. They had a play the other day that I'd never seen. They had 3 different people come in motion from one side to the other, and then he came back.
I said the same thing.
What the hell is going on? It looked like some line dancing shit. But I think that's important. I think in order, they definitely have to go out and get some help in the secondary.
Yes.
Whether that's via trade or draft. I mean, there's a bunch of DBs in the draft. They have a few picks. They could also trade their picks. They got a first and 2 seconds, and they can go out and try and get Patrick Peterson or Jalen Ramsey.
Ooh.
And Kenya, how much money did you say they had?
46 mil.
46.
They need to spend $45,990,000 of it on defense. Had they had some resemblance of an ability to stop the run, they would have won that game on Sunday.
Well, here's the thing. I thought that they did. So coming out, the Patriots was like, yo, double tight. We running it right down your neck. But then they made the adjustment. They put 5 on the line. They actually did a better job, much better job in the second half of containing the run. The thing that was crazy to me, and I also think the reason why Bob Sutton got fired, is because you had Tony Romo in the booth telling you what Tom Brady was going to do.
Ask Lug, on that last drive, I called every single target they were throwing the ball. Hey, yo, it's 3rd and what? Hey, they're going to Julian Edelman. There was a point during that drive where Gronk didn't even leave the line of scrimmage.
He was blocking.
The one play, they put him out wide. Who the fuck do you think they throwing the ball to? Get Bob Sutton the fuck out of here.
I mean, do you guys think Barry's done?
Yes.
He getting tapped on the shoulder right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
they love him there. They love him.
No, I know
He's
they love him.
not saying he won't be there.
But
I'm
the
just
body,
saying.
the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
I mean,
That's what Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Won't he do it? No, but the Achilles from week 1, right?
The Achilles,
and then he comes back and hurts his
cancer.
ankle. Well, the cancer, he already beat that.
I know he did, but I'm saying, man, it's taxing. It takes
a
toll.
Let's if he getting cooked next year, or if he gets hurt again, then absolutely.
I mean, he couldn't do anything with Gronk because Gronk either ran up the field and Tom made. I mean, first of all, take nothing away from the throws that Tom Brady was making, but come
disgusting.
on, man. Okay,
how the ball not?
Tom Brady he's scanning the defense. Gronk's in the backfield. Okay, he's looking. Is it 5 down there? Okay, it's 5 down there. I'm passing it to Edelman in the middle of the field. Drop some players, drop into a zone.
You can't zone Tom Brady.
Switch it up though.
No, just give him something different. He's reading He's reading it pre-snap. He knows what you're doing.
Part of that also is he had 7.5 minutes to throw the ball. Right. They weren't getting any pressure.
Which is why you drop more players into the zone. So you show him the zone because the 5-man front says, okay, I'm not going to run it. Because if you go 4 or less, I'm running the ball. That's all it was. I'm running the ball if it's 4 or less. 5 or more, I'm passing it. Okay, so drop guys into the zone to take away. He was throwing to a spot, and Edelman was getting to that. It was to Edelman. Our double Edelman. Make Chris Hogan or Philip Dorsett make a key catch. Do something different.
How about play inside contain so he doesn't get to the inside?
How about that? I mean, that's fun. That's cornerback 101.
And they had safeties over the top. Why are you afraid of them beating you over the top?
Especially
Who's gonna beat you over the top?
Right.
Exactly.
Especially when Gronk's in the backfield. It would be different if he was on a line of scrimmage because he could release out. He was in the backfield. Come on, man.
And the one time they did get pressure on Brady, they brushed him on the chest and it was a 15-yard penalty.
How does the ref behind the play call that?
Well,
you obviously didn't see it.
What I say Sunday, Dev, I said, listen, the Patriots, we are getting there. We actually are there. We're there right now.
We're there. Let's go.
The Patriots, they do most things right, and then they get all the help. And that...
all the help.
I don't understand. So, we are there. Championship game recap. I mean... let's just get right to it, man. What is the NFL going to do about this officiating? Because, this weekend, outside of Super Bowl weekend, and the analogy I gave is, it's like me inviting a whole bunch of guests and strangers to, hey, you all bring your +1s, your +2s, and you come in my house, and is dog feces everywhere, clothes is everywhere. Everybody that does not know me is coming in like, yo, man, this man Kenyon is dirty. And that's what this Sunday was. This Sunday was, and this is coming off of a season with, you've got player safety, you've got the Kaepernick issue, you've got all these things that the NFL is trying to fight against. And then you have the officiating.
Showcase Sunday.
That was just awful. And we can start in New Orleans. I mean,
it can go back a few weeks ago. It's been bad all year.
Yeah.
It has been bad all year, but I'm saying this week, the only thing that can top what happened this week is if the Super Bowl is an absolute shit show.
Well, I mean, I don't know what we can do. If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be sitting here with you motherfuckers because I'd be rich. But I think you have to at least consider some sort of changes in the postseason. What I mean by that is maybe dedicate a New York man for the game as a referee, as an official that is not just looking at replays, is looking at everything in its totality. And
where is he positioned on the? Is he on the sideline? Is he?
He's in New York.
Oh, he's in New York.
He's in New York, so he can see everything.
Oh, so just watching the game, though.
Watching the game and be like, I mean, not necessarily. Oh yeah, that wasn't a hold, or this is a hold, because that would slow the game down. But like in key moments where shit's decided, whether it's a pass interference penalty that changes it from third down to first down, or you flip the field on that penalty, or a third down roughing the passer, like that sort of shit, like, or a holding call that wasn't a hold that brought a touchdown back. Somebody who has the ability within the play clock to review that quickly and then put a stop to it.
And I think it should be more than one person, honestly, because in the playoffs, it's one game at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking about 5 or 6 games at once, like on normal regular season Sundays. It's one game at a time. They need more than one person outside of what's on the field.
What about within 2 minutes of the game, making every play reviewable?
Does that
not the play, not
just the calls,
just the yes. Any penalty that is called, making that reviewable.
Well, what about when there's not a penalty called, like the one that's?
But that's the thing, though, is if the edict is that everything is reviewable, then in that situation, somebody calls it, right? Because you know what happened. Because you know what happened in that play. What happened in that play is the not the back judge. I guess the who's behind the quarterback or the referee behind the quarterback, he saw it. But his perspective, he saw it as, oh, that's probably a bang bang play. Did my guy call it? Oh, he didn't call it. I'm not going to say anything.
He put his hand on the flag.
But if the seed is planted, that everything is we want to get this right, so everything is reviewable, then at least he calls a huddle, right? He either throws a flag or he calls a huddle and says, "Listen,
this is what I saw.
This is what I saw," and we have that conversation.
What do you think he saw?
I don't think he's seen. I don't think he was looking. I don't think he was looking. Because there were two penalties on that play.
On the same play.
On the same play. Kev?
On the same defender. Like, honestly, I'm not going to lie. Watching it live, I was happy they didn't call it because, again, I'm here for the circus. I have a dog in the fight. But, yeah, I mean, it's blatant. And when you try to make your product on the field, it's supposed to be, we amplify everything this time of the year, and you turn around, you have no type of recourse to correct these problems. I saw something earlier, like people were saying Goodell had the power to replay the game or something crazy like that. But I just feel like when something like that happens and it's that blatant, I do agree with you, Kenya. I don't know logistically if that'll make the last 2 minutes last 2 hours, but I do think at the end of the day, you want to get it right because it really is turning people away from. I mean, people were saying over the weekend, like, "Oh, I'm not going to watch it," which they're lying. We have a Super Bowl party, you're coming. But I think people really aren't invested into the game when they do stuff like that. But I'll be honest, as bad as that those 2 missed calls on the same defender on the same play was, Sean Payton lost that game, and we can go in whatever direction we're going.
100%.
100%.
You on first down, you throw a pass with 150 left. Right after the 2-minute warning.
Yep.
And I don't know what Breeze was trying to hurry up and get it. He dirted it. He Donovan McNabb that shit.
Yep.
Then on second down, you run Kevin's favorite running play, a pitch. They got stopped for a loss. And then on third down, you have the non-call.
Yeah.
which stops the clock as an incomplete pass.
But
And
but
give
even
them
that
the fucking ball
third down
back.
should have been a run
Yes,
because
exactly. That's right.
it's a minute 40 left. They have one timeout. You
Yes.
run the ball, they blow their timeout. You milk the clock. Now they got to march down the field and score on you with no timeouts.
That's correct. That's
But
correct.
even then, like, and this is my only I don't want to call it a knock, but my only issue about the whole thing with the last 2 minutes, it could be a missed call in the first quarter. Second quarter is just as important. And I think that's where New Orleans lost that game in the first quarter when they had the drop touchdown pass. It would have been a great catch, but he dropped the touchdown.
Yep.
And then they got the interception off the Gurley drop and didn't punch it in. Bruh, the Rams were done. They wanted no parts
what
of
I
that
said
game, and
last-
New Orleans kept them in it, and they paid for it. So as angry as we can get about the refs and they caused us and blah, 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 the Saints lost that game.
They ran the ball 21 times the entire game.
Kevin, you're spot on. Yes, Devin. They ran the ball 21 times against
A team that can't stop
defense
the run.
against a defense that gave up the most yards rushing remaining in the playoffs, 5.1 yards. So, yes, the non-call on the pass interference and the contact to the head, which is super ironic because, again, this was a season where it was supposed to be all about player safety, and you literally had a defender that never turned around for the ball and literally launched himself.
By the way, if he did turn around for the ball, it was
It was
six.
a pick six,
It's a pick six.
which
Hey.
goes back to my Drew Brees question. But anyway,
He thought he was beat for
he
a
said
touchdown.
he straight up said it was
said
pass
I was
interference.
beat.
I was beat. I was trying not to give up the touchdown. But yes, 5.1 yards per carry is what the Rams gave up. You only run the ball 21 times, and you have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. That non-call kind of bailed out Sean Payton, but like you say all the time, Devin, it was tight. But he had tight booty cheeks that game. Sean Payton, as a play caller, had tight booty cheeks.
and he shit the bed.
Yeah. Okay. So both games had overtime, right? And, in the Saints game, both teams had an opportunity to get the ball. With the way that the fourth quarter went with Kansas City, New England, I'm just going to say I understand what the rules are, and generally speaking, I'm okay with it. But I would have liked to have seen Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City get an opportunity to have the ball. So the question I have for you guys is, should the overtime rules be different in the postseason? Specifically this. We know that if New England had just kicked the field goal, Kansas City would have had an opportunity to have possession and see if they would have scored a touchdown. Should that rule be amended to say if the team that wins the coin toss goes down and scores, regardless of whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, that the other team will get an opportunity to do it? Or we eliminate the coin toss and just say home team gets the ball first, and then the road team gets the ball, and then it's sudden death from there.
Play the whole 12 minutes.
Play the whole quarter.
Play the whole quarter, make it 12 minutes, and you go from there.
So cut it down from 15
to
to
12.
12, but increase it from 10 to
Yeah,
10 to 12.
exactly. Increase it to 10 to 12, and they play the whole quarter. That way, it is just like the fourth quarter, basically. You're starting game tied. Whoever wins the toss, they get the ball first. If they score a touchdown, great. You get the ball back. If you don't score a touchdown and they don't score a touchdown, you still have a chance to win the game.
Okay.
I would be fine with the rule the way that it is, but Kenyon, why did you say you wanted to see Mahomes get the ball back? Because offense rules is modern NFL. So if the scales were even in terms of emphasis on who has the easier route, if it was like the good old days, I'm going to send my defense out there and we got to stop them. But the NFL, the way it is today, like you said earlier, you touch Tom Brady's nipple and it's a 15-yard penalty, then as a defense, you don't have a chance. So if this is how the NFL is going to be, then both offenses should get the ball.
Well, let's stay there. I don't think it should change. How about this? How about who got fired today?
Don Sutton.
Okay, how about your team is getting gang raped the whole game, they're gassed, and you don't blow any timeouts on that last drive to get them any sort of relief?
They were calling it. They were like, "Don't you think you should call a timeout here?
Yeah.
Get your defense
They
some
gave
rest."
up 4 third-down conversions on that drive, and 3 of them were third and long.
Yeah.
And I think we all
To
called
Julian Edelman.
Yeah, it was 3 to Edelman and 1 to
One to
Gronk.
Gronk.
Like
Yeah.
we knew which plays was
Tony
coming.
called all the plays. So, I mean,
Good point.
this is only an issue because someone deserved to lose their job. And the thing, their Achilles heel that's been hurting them all year was their defense. And I think they went 5-5 all year in one-score games. And what is that? That's not this phenomenal offensive talent that we may have never seen something like him before. It's because your defense can't get it done.
Yeah. Okay, continuing with hot topics. Kareem Hunt staying with the Chiefs, interest is already ramping up. We can't even get to the end of the season, and we've got Matt Nagy already throwing out pleasantries. And it's been reported that there are several teams that are interested in Mr. Hunt. The question I have for you guys, and we'll go round robin with this one. I'll start with you, Kevin. Give me the best fit for Mr. Kareem Hunt.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Indianapolis is a fit for every free agent running back.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what they
got
need.
bread.
And they got
Hey,
money.
but you know what sucks though? Is the Chiefs were basically forced. I mean, they didn't ask for this, but they were really forced to cut him just for probably next year somebody to pick him up. He serve a little BS suspension. I wouldn't have been mad if they were just like, yo, you just got to stay away from us from 18 months. And then you come on back and the NFL will welcome you back in. They basically had to lose a player to another team because he's going to play for some shit they couldn't control.
And ironically, I think if he had been in the game on Sunday,
they would have won.
They
wouldn't have been a game.
Yeah. Dad, best fit.
Whoever craps out not getting Le'Veon.
Right.
Which
Yep.
is
The Colts.
Yeah. we're talking about the Colts, the Jets.
yeah, exactly.
But think about it. How much you think Kareem Hunt's going to get? It's obviously going to be a low ball offer.
He's going to be a low ball offer.
So could you imagine if instead of paying...
Don't say it, Les.
Instead of paying Le'Veon $18 million or $17 million,
the Steelers.
yeah,
come
and
back
now you
door.
get Kareem Hunt for $5.
Oh, he's going to be low.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine
And
that.
he's a Midwest guy too,
Yep.
out of Toledo. That's interesting, Les.
Yep.
That's really interesting. All right, finally, before we get out of here, the reason why 32 Kings Road exists, the League Ambassadors exist, because we want to engage fans, international fans,
wonder
with
what game we
popular
going to.
American sports. It was announced this week, the NFL for the 2019 season announced their international games in Mexico. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs going against the Chargers. But in London, we've got some interesting games here. Carolina, for the first time, is going to cross the pond, and they're going to go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've got Red-O Chicago Bears. I believe this is their first trip across the pond as well. Going against Junior Blues. We don't know what to call them yet. We'll just say Raiders.
Hopefully they're the Raiders.
Right? And then we've got the Cincinnati Bengals going against the Los Angeles Rams. And then we have the Houston Texans going against the de facto team from London, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Give me, guys, each of you, round robin style, start with you, Junior Blue, the best game as of now on that lineup.
The best game, because I feel like Jacksonville will find a quarterback, will be the Texans versus Jacksonville.
You're really in on Jacksonville.
I feel like they're going to get a quarterback.
I think they're two
and
steps
that team-
below Pittsburgh. I think it's kind of on a shit show status. Okay. Remember Jalen Ramsey talking shit. They trying to steal Leonard Fournette's money. They don't have a quarterback, and they don't have receivers or a tight end.
We'll see.
That?
Do I have to pick from London or just period?
I know, because it was easy.
That's an easy one.
You don't like Chicago versus Oakland?
I can tell you what the worst game on the docket going to be.
What's the worst game on the docket?
Panthers Bucks, because Cam might not play all next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Are you breaking news?
It's a dead
if he gets the surgery. Yeah.
I don't know if it's breaking. I mean, it's been about a week old. I mean, they talk about they might hold him out for the entire 19 season.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw. Well, assuming Cam is there
he
and
went
Jameis
way too hard.
Jameis
still
versus
there, we got two black quarterbacks in London.
Shortage.
Trapeze.
I'm glad y'all knew where I was going with this.
I don't know. Trapeze, I don't know. I might be done with trapeze.
All right. Well, on that note, we will get out of here. This has been another episode of 32 Kings Road. As a reminder, please follow the League Ambassadors. Actually, our handle is the League AM on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Please subscribe to and rate our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We've got 2 more episodes left in this, our 3rd season. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, El Dad or ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And now I'm Red O, the buck wild problem child.
Flow butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win at the 2-yard line. And make no mistake, we running it in.